See if we can get you one this year, man.
Yeah. Well, a person turned the recording. All right, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just give it a couple more minutes and we'll get started. One more minute. Get started.
Cool. Yeah,
Yep.
all good.
Yep.
How am I coming into you, by the way, Kev? Good? Clear?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome. Perfect.
Oh, okay, it's recording. Like it's recording. I don't see it as. Okay. All right, we'll get started.
All right. Well, hey, good morning for some on the West Coast, or East Coast, I should say, and good afternoon for those on the East, and then good morning for those on the West. My name is Andrew Crotty. Uh, Kevin, I don't know if you want to do an introduction or have me just kind of start rolling into this. What would you prefer?
Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, what you do, and things like that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, hey, everybody. If you've not seen me before, my name is Andrew Crotty, also known as Ginger Hacker. I've been in cyber for just under 10 years now, and cybersecurity is something I really have a strong, healthy passion for, and I love giving back to the community. Some cool things about me, I actually have just gotten involved into a few different nonprofits the past 2 years, one being Noob Village. If you were at DEF CON 34 this last year, you probably saw us, as well as the Ginger Hacker Initiative, which is a spin-off from my YouTube channel, Ginger Hacker. But from there, I kind of run a cool running series called Breaking into Cyber, where I help folks, everyone from K through 12, junior, seniors in high school, career changers, veterans, folks want to do that career change mid-career into cybersecurity. We help do sponsorships and scholarships for EC Council, SANS, and CompTIA certifications. And where my background kind of comes into is I've had a cool background of getting to work not only at like the state federal level for the state of Arizona cyber team. I've gotten to work in the fintech sector at Wells Fargo, and currently on the government side working for federal like a network aspecting role with a company called Vitos. I like to play D&D. I'm a nerd. I like to go to the gym. I like to work out, and I also like to eat. And yeah, I'm excited today to kind of share some fun, I think, good leveling up tips and tricks to help hack your algorithm on LinkedIn. So excited to be here. And Kev, thanks so much for the invite.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Well, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start by exactly just talking about what the title says. So, when it comes into, I think, breaking into cyber and growing that cybersecurity network, some folks might think, well, I need to have my degree. I need to have all the certifications. I need to have the experience. And you're not wrong. All those things are very strong parts of a puzzle that you need to start constructing to make yourself a strong and best candidate for that role. But there's one other thing that some people I think sometimes will forget about, and that is the social piece of it, of kind of building your brand and growing yourself across your network and kind of visibility to be known across the cybersecurity community. And I know that might kind of sound silly, like, well, Andy, why do I'm not going to be no YouTuber, I'm not going to be an influencer. Not saying you have to, but being involved in that community is going to help make you more recognizable, because we all pretty much know when we go to our local meetups or a conference, as much as a handshake, or once you're finally at that point where you want to get someone's connection, sometimes it's, hey, what's your LinkedIn? And sometimes that's where people, I think, can kind of fall within the cracks if they're maybe not having a headshot, a good up to date profile. Things are missing. And that's why we're going to kind of talk about that today, on making sure that your LinkedIn is in tip top shape and making yourself look and appear and be there as the best candidate. So, Andy, why does LinkedIn matter? I'm trying to break into cybersecurity. I'm not trying to get into social media. I'm not trying to be a movie star. Totally understandable. But we had to think when it comes into the recruitment process and how recruiters are also leveraging social media platforms to find that next candidate. LinkedIn is a very strong means of where they can find certain analytics, good candidate referrals, and kind of their own intel threads on finding that next best person for fitting into that role. Now, we know that we've been through many of the ghost jobs that we can find within the LinkedIn job hunt, but many recruiters have special programs that they can leverage across LinkedIn to find those next individuals. And by doing that, what they end up doing is they can search for certain keywords and they can look for folks that meet a certain pipeline requirement. Maybe if there's already folks that have first, second, or third connections within an organization, that way you can see your peers, trusted friends, and employees, and then they want to look measurable goals. Hey, what's this person's are they actively involved in the community? Are they working on certifications? What are they doing to kind of make themselves stand out and be the best candidate? And that's sometimes when you go to a profile, which I myself live on many of my socials and make sure that I'm updating them with new and cool techniques and tips I'm finding, as well as kind of certifications as I move across the year to make myself stand out when and if I kind of go back out into the market and start connecting with folks across my network. Now, as we mentioned before, and it's just like probably going to a website, if you're wanting to find the best pizza place at name said location. So if I want the best pizza in New York, they maybe might be using specific keywords I'm gonna be looking for: fresh, thin crust, Chicago style, deep dish. And that's going to get me maybe 3 to 5 different positions or 3 to 5 different locations that offer those skills. Now, this is kind of silly, but just like in any SEO environment, when a recruiter is looking for someone with these same exact skills, they're looking for a SOC analyst, incident response experience, deep understanding of the MITRE ATT&CK terminology or framework. They're maybe looking for those keywords on a profile when they do their searches to see who's maybe done those said roles and job descriptions onside your work history, or maybe it's within a title or a headline about yourself or like a short bluff of who you are. And by simply kind of adding those small little keywords, it makes you be a little bit more higher up on that search bar when your recruiters and folks looking for that next individual to join their team will allow you to pop up. Now, in your headline and about me, as it mentions before, this is great locations where you can kind of put and link your GitHub repositories, projects you worked, maybe like a small, even if some folks will create websites to kind of show off as well, or that link tree to show additional places they can go to learn more about yourself. This is kind of a small, I think, little piece of where I think like just updating a few different words and making sure that your resume and previous job descriptions have relatively decent, thorough, but yet not deluging too much information. Like if you worked for Chase Bank, you don't want to be listing out every single tool set that the bank uses. Because in a sense now you're almost making the bank have like, oh man, I know they're using Cloudflare. I know they're using Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, Splunk. So, hey, I'm familiar with SIM tools or EDR. I've worked data loss prevention software, ticketing systems. And that's like some small things that would also help kind of help you stand out when it comes into the search credibility of your profile. Oh, and real quick, everybody, unfortunately, I'm only on a one screen today. So if you have questions or if questions are coming up while this is going, at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure to kind of go through the chat real fast and try to answer we can talk on any questions as we go. So please, if there's any questions on a certain slide we're on, just maybe take a note of it, drop it in the chat, and we'll make sure that we'll circle back to it. Really appreciate it. All right, so next is content strategy. So I don't want someone just posting to post just because they need to stay active on their social media, right? It can get annoying, it can be a nuisance, it can just be just blah. So usually what I tell people to do is if they're trying to become a security analyst, maybe go into a week-long study or a week-long course. And as you learn something new or a cool topic or a cool maybe tool that you've never used before, start thinking of ways that you can kind of show off or talk about that stuff on a post on your social media. And I tell people on this is the place where you're not trying to brag or show off, but this is a good place where you can also show that you're continuously learning. So obviously we just had the Try Hack Me Advent of Cyber at the end of the year this year for December. And I think that's probably a great example of how a lot of folks, as they get done with that room or done with that challenge, it's a great day to have a good 30, almost a 25, 30-day post success. because every day you're learning about new cool techniques or a new cool procedure or process that maybe you've never done before, but that's in the same direction of a new role you're looking for. And that kind of can then get you in kind of into that next kind of trajectory of having strong, solid posts. Now, the cadence and format, this can be done several different ways. I myself have challenged some of my mentees to do a 100-day posting challenge. I myself have been given that challenge. And I actually have a video that I posted a bit ago on the YouTube channel that shows the analytics of actually the growth I had with that when it comes into new followers and what specific like titles they had. So recruiters, managers, engineers, CISOs, CFOs, those other positions that I'm specifically targeting to or want to go into sometime. That's who my audience and my target was. It was for my cybersecurity community, and wanting to grow that aspect of my network. So if I wanted to go off and become a engineer, maybe for Netflix or some FANG company, and I noticed that during that same time frame, I maybe gained 3 or 4 individuals from that employer, I can now possibly try to make that connection, shoot them a LinkedIn message saying, "Hey, saw we connected earlier in the year. I have some aspirations to join said company or join said position. I would love to hop on a quick call and kind of exchange some information to see if I'm on that right track or kind of see if these are the same projects and things I should be leveraging and doing to level up." So, and that's a cool thing when it comes into the posting aspects of it. So I'm not saying you have to do a 100-day post challenge, but maybe setting up a good rhythm of maybe once to twice a week, maybe at the beginning of the week on a Monday, and then at the end of the week on a Friday on anything new that you may have learned or done during that week. And then reusing assets. So there's many times, I'm sure we've all done it as we're doom scrolling across the internet, where we find a really cool resource or a cool blog or maybe a slide deck that really hits a strong point on something that we are learning, or maybe something our friends or family or community are learning, and maybe just taking that and then restructuring it, doing your own small analysis on it, and resharing that. It shows that you're finding good new resources. As a threat researcher as well, you're going to spend many of your days kind of deep diving into blogs, bleeping computers, Mandiant, Rapid7, and a ton of other things, looking for exploits and other things that are going on within the community to then share and write about. So yeah, don't be afraid if you see something that's working really well, or you see something that could be really utilized well for the type of people you're trying to target or your community. Post about it, talk about it. That's a great place, and LinkedIn is just another place that you can use to leverage to grow your network, find your next kind of peers, social group, and possibly your next employer to move into that role into cybersecurity to get in. All right, so engagement tactics. Andy, I post all the time. I post once or twice a day, and I'm only getting 2 to 3 people to respond to it. So what's going on? Am I not, is it not popular? Am I not writing good, eager engagement aspects of things? How do I beat that algorithm? I don't have a right answer for this, but the thing is, when it comes into the thing I like to reach back to and think on when I'm doing any type of post I try to engage with folks on is how, if you're following a trend, if you're not within that first hours for targeting the influencers, you're gonna miss that. You're gonna miss your target. But I try to think of what are some things that I would want to see that's meaningful, that's going to be something that I would click onto or check out to or interact with. So sharing those technical counterpoints, citations, adding your own analysis to a cool resource or tab or maybe a post you've already seen is something where it's like, what are you adding to this conversation that someone can either re-engage with or have additional questions or comments on, to have that kind of good back and forth. And then another great one, which is like, once again, a super, I think, overthought thing is, hey, just save and reshare at a later time. And there's nothing wrong with bookmarking or saving those high value posts or comments that you find that have really strong or good analysis, taking your time to ingest it, make sure you fully understand it, and then re-engaging and then rebuilding out a additional post or maybe a deeper dive. Like, hey, I had a really cool post I read about a CVE that just came out from Beeping Computers or Mandiant, and I wanted to give some thoughts on it. So here's one way that I maybe take that conversation and then I can direct it toward a certain audience, maybe OT or specifically maybe fintech or the healthcare sector. And then you can kind of build upon that as you're posting and kind of growing your knowledge and your engagement with folks that you're trying to target within your community. So, and with obviously the talk of breaking into cyber, you want to show across your platform, and in LinkedIn as example of our platform, that you're doing the research, you're doing this extra little piece of things. And I think one thing that people might take take away or don't consider when it comes into breaking in Many managers and folks that are working in these roles, they rather work with someone that they're familiar with, they know, a friend, a colleague, someone that they maybe met at a conference that, man, had a really healthy conversation with Kev. He would be a great fit as our tech manager. And building that community and having that type of engagement and showing, well, he's always active in the community, or hey, she's been really doing a lot of cool research on threat intelligence lately. Let's ping her, maybe send her this job application to see if they'd want to come join the team. So this is another means and just another kind of, I'd say, almost like a secret toolkit belt that some people forget, is that LinkedIn is exactly that. It's a tool you can leverage to build a network, build and grow where you want to go to, and then share about the things you're actually very passionate or enjoying about. Oh man, and I've been hitting this, I think, the last 6 slides, but like building targeted connections. So another great thing I tell people when I challenge my mentees to do the 100-day posting challenge is I will also challenge them, hey, I want you to invite 10 to 20 people a day to connect with you. Now, fun fact, LinkedIn has a cap on how many people you can invite a week. And I think there's actually also a actual cap on how many LinkedIn followers you can have, which I should have pulled up that number and had it, but it's also good to know. But I tell people, look, if you want to be a SOC lead or a SOC manager, go find SOC leads and managers that are at successful companies or businesses that are doing great things and go and add them on LinkedIn. You'd be very surprised on just by sending a quick little message saying, hi, my name's Andy. I have aspirations to become a SOC manager, and I noticed you've been working at X company for X amount of years. I would love to have a short conversation, 15, 20 minutes if you have some time, to just kind of share my story of what I've been doing, what my path is of where I think I'm doing to get to that position. And I would very much appreciate your feedback. 9 times out of 10, by doing that message, I either get one of two responses. One, they'll still connect with me and they say, hey, would love to chat, very busy, but hey, maybe we can find some time at later in the year or some type of connection. Totally fine. I've now made that connection. They can now see the type of work I'm doing though. And at that later point in time, I can have that conversation. Or the other post I'll get is, hey, I would absolutely love to talk. Here's my Calendarly. Here's the best way you can reach out to me. And let's set up a quick time. Now, one thing I'll let people know on is when you're reaching out to somebody to try to find that time to work on a conversation, it is best that you be as flexible as you can to their schedule. So I have folks that will reach out to me all the time saying, hey, I'd love to connect and just pick your brain and talk. I'm married, I got 2 kids, I work, I'm in the military, and sometimes my time calendar can get very filled up, but I'll get weird random pockets of free time where I'll be, hey, if you're free in the next 10 minutes, I can jump on a quick call for 15 minutes. And I've gotten pros and cons from that. Sometimes it's like, yep, absolutely, I'd love to, or oh, I'm not free. Well, the caveat is I can give you my calendar invite, but it's very filled for about a month and a half, 2 months, sometimes even. So when I find those small windows and opportunities to talk to people when they have that availability, that's your time to really just hop in. And even if it's a quick 5-minute conversation, to have that deep dive context and get that strong value on, hey, where am I going wrong? What am I doing right? What's my next steps I should go into? It's people, you'd be surprised how open people are to that kind of conversation if you can flex your time to meet their kind of availability. All right. Once again, using analytics to um, um, iterate. I may have spelled that word wrong or just be saying it wrong. But the next piece of this is our metrics, test windows, data points. And this is the same piece where the strongest way to really emphasize this one is doing that 100-day posting challenge. Because what happens is depending on how engaged or active your LinkedIn probably is right now, if you go to a fun piece of this, if you actually go to your LinkedIn and go to your analytics page or tab, it will show you different metrics that are kind of neat and kind of cool to see. And another thing I would leverage is if you're not using the LinkedIn Premium, there's a pro con to it. Understandable, you have to pay for it, which depending on where you're at in your career, maybe might be the thing you want to do, maybe not. I would say this, by having the LinkedIn Premium and having ability to message people and to check out my in-depth analytics on who's viewing me, what's their title, what job do or what organization do they work for, I think is a huge, great takeaway. But when it comes to the engagements and impression rates, this can also kind of show you, like, if you're going to be a threat intel analyst or work in OSINT and you start posting a ton of stuff on 10 or 5-year CVEs that are kind of relatively old, but you're maybe trying to do some open source research to show that you understand the concepts of doing investigations and threat intel analysis. And you might look into your metrics and see that I'm not really getting that much engagement. Well, go ahead and just take that like a year or so back, or maybe even 6 months, and then start posting on stuff that's a little bit more current. I bet you would be very surprised to see a higher engagement because those things are more relevant and more concerning for a lot of tech organizations or companies. They're trying to find research on those CVEs or those current threats. So by leveraging that kind of data points and seeing, like I said, or testing out different headers or post times, and this is, like I said, getting very into like the ones and zeros of analytics, because it's like, oh, well, if you jump into your analytics table and you see that the most time that people are viewing your post is between 9 a.m. and 11:30 a.m., why would you post anytime outside of that window? You could try to post outside that window to try to gain a new audience. Or if that's your specific hot take on a window of when folks are actually reviewing your stuff, I would just go into that deep end piece of it where you can try to find like who's looking at your post, who's commenting, who's engaging, to then see like, okay, well, if that's my hot window of best time to post, that's when I plan to keep kind of posting this type of content. Cool. And advanced signals boosting techniques. So collaborations. This is one thing that I think is huge when it comes into breaking into cyber and kind of having those strong, cool conversations, just like how Kevin invited me to this amazing talk, getting to kind of present or talk to different folks about a cool topic or some type of way that I think they can kind of level up and get into the technology, into the field. So if you're new, I would recommend going to local B-sides, or maybe also going into a different webinars such as this as yourself. Like maybe you have a cool talk you'd like to provide. I would just reach out to organizations like this and say, hey, my name's Andy. I have a really cool talk I think would be really great for your community. Runs about 35 to 40 minutes. Would love to have a quick kind of follow-up call and kind of just have a conversation to see what that could consist of. And 9 times out of 10, you'd be very surprised that most organizations, Discord communities, B-side communities are more than willing to have you come on and talk to their community. Because one, it's a great way for you to grow. It's a great way for their community members to grow. And it's also a great way to, as you break into cybersecurity, no matter what level in the pecking order you get into, whether that's IT help desk, to a state CISO, to a director, you're going to have to talk to people and have that strong communication skills. So being able to do conversations and calls like this to kind of explain a topic or work on crutch words or just be getting used to talking into a camera can be huge in advancement within your career. I've met many people across my time here in the last few years and going to conferences and working in like Noob Village or Community Greenhouse Village or Career Village. And the amount of technical skill some of these young kids, career changers have is fantastic. But sometimes it's the soft skills, communication, that strong confidence of just looking someone into the eyes of a conversation can sometimes be a little lacking. And I explain that when I do a lot of meetups or resume reviews or mock interviews. Hey, be confident, talk slowly and clearly. I myself am a very fast, chatty Cathy when I get really excited. So sometimes I need to slow myself down. And I give that really finite feedback because it's not that they're not technical. Folks I've talked to out of the colleges and universities, they have GitHub repositories, they've built applications, they have amazing home labs, but sometimes that can be a small kind of weak link. Next up is endorsements. So obviously, we all know that certifications are not just the golden brick road to get into cybersecurity, but having those type of endorsements or certifications or a great mentor or someone that you've worked with that can kind of reach out and kind of give you that shout out and say, hey, I've worked with Kev before. He's super strong at communication. He's clear and concise. His technical analytical mindset of how he breaks down investigations is clear and concise. This would be a great member to add onto any single team. That's huge. As you kind of start going through your journey and either moving around companies or trying to get into your first company, having those slight endorsements on your LinkedIn or as like recommendation letters can help you kind of get that next nudge up into an organization. Next up is the SEO content. So write-ups, GitHubs, LinkedIn posts, cross-platform visibility. So I get it. Not everyone wants to be a social influencer. I'm not trying to be a YouTube star. Andy, I just want to get a job in technology. Fantastic. However, I would challenge folks trying to break into this industry to create YouTube channels, to have GitHub repositories, to be active on their LinkedIn. The why behind that is because I think if you can leverage and do a walkthrough on a YouTube video, and we'll use Try Hack Me for example. If you go and do the entire SOC Analyst Level 1 course or SOC Analyst Level 2, or even just maybe like their phishing investigation courses or their Splunk investigation um, uh, rooms, and you can record those and make a private video, not saying you have to share it to the whole world. Once you get into an interview, or maybe you're interviewing for a process, you can leverage that as a resource to actually provide to managers and employers saying, hey, I know you're looking for a Splunk analyst that has a proficiency in Splunk. I would like to send you my resume, my endorsements, and also a video repository from my YouTube channel of me going through an entire walkthrough with my thought process, my queries, my write-ups, and how I solve these rooms that I think are exactly what you're looking for. And that might be a little futuristic, like Andy, like, that's way too much. Like, who would want to watch my videos? But I think it's a great way as a manager to go watch someone doing the task I would need them to do, walking through the process, pulling up your GitHub, reading through your write up. Like, wow, this is fantastic. This is exactly what we need. And maybe you're not a strong interviewer. I myself, I'm not, I feel like I do okay, but like sometimes I feel just like anybody, man, did I say the right thing? Am I doing it right? Did I just seem awkward or odd? And you could be the perfect fit, but if they don't get to see maybe that technical experience or hear that technical experience, I feel leveraging a social media, GitHub write-ups, or videos is just another tool in the belt that you can provide to show that experience and expertise of a topic that you can provide to you while you're trying to break into cyber. All right, awesome. This is a really important part too. So safety, privacy, professional hygiene. So as I mentioned before, right? So as you're working with other organizations and companies, the last thing you want to do is as you drop into your skill sets and like what you've been doing is drop out PII, sensitive data. Maybe you want to talk about a really cool incident that happened that week, but it's not public. And so it's like a TDR amber or red where you're not supposed to be sharing this out loud. Make sure you're keeping those things in mind before you just kind of like mind dump things onto social media. We all know once your stuff's out on the internet, it's there for everyone to see. So always need to be kind of cognizant about that. Another important thing on this too is employer policies. So I know my time at the state and Wells Fargo, there's certain parameters of what I could do on and off site, even with my social medias, my Discord community, my LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, where I can't be saying, hey, I'm Andy from Wells Fargo, and this is the way. It was, I couldn't be a specific, like, I am representing Wells Fargo or I am representing the state of Arizona during the stuff I did, which was totally understandable. Many times too is if you're wanting to come on to certain podcasts or YouTube shows or maybe go to a B-sides meetup and give a talk, you have to submit that approval before you can even go do it. And you have to reach out to your HR team, legal team saying, hey, am I good to go do this? Here's my topic. Here's all my questions I plan to do. And they are the ones that kind of get to say yay or nay. So making sure that you're aware of those policies. Not every company has them. Not every company is going to be a stickler, some might say. Most are very for it. They like to see their professionals and cybersecurity professionals giving back to the community and doing these cool talks and getting in a sense to represent their brand, saying, "Wow, that's a killer analyst or a really well developed engineer over at X company." And man, if that's what their whole team looks like, I want to go be a part of that team. So can also help with recruiting and kind of good in a sense marketing for that organization. All right. So, everybody, what is my recommendation for you guys? I say let's make a 30-day plan. So, option number one right now is let's optimize that profile. So, make sure you have a good header, good two role keywords, one measurable outcome of what you're trying to do, add any technical assets and accomplishments you've been doing the past few months. And then goal number two, let's start posting some content. Maybe a cool demo you read, a really cool presentation you came to today, talking about how to level up my LinkedIn, and this is day one. Three, let's build some connections. So as I mentioned before, let's go ahead and send 25 to 20 new connections this week. I know it's a little early as a Sunday, but maybe starting Monday, you can send out 20 new connections this week in the next maybe role you want to get into or next organization you're trying to join. And then the testing portion of this. So let's run 2 engagements. Maybe you want to become a SOC analyst, but you also want to get into threat intelligence. And let's leverage both those type of informations and conversations that you can kind of get into and start posting about SOC analytical work for week 1. See what your analytics come out to, And then on the second week, start writing about cyber threat intelligence and then see what that looks like as well. So that is the talk today on getting to level up your LinkedIn profile and kind of beating the algorithm. Some other small tips and tricks, I'll throw in before I kind of go open up to any questions or any comments in the chat before I kind of pivot back off the PowerPoint, is have a good headshot. And your headshot can really be what describes you. I mean, if you guys go see mine, I'm in my Ginger Hacker hoodie, my arms across, have a big smile across my face, and my background is literally my house. I didn't go anywhere fancy or professional to do the photos. I had a family friend take the photo for me, and that's it. I know some folks like to do the professional one, passport photos. I think there's no rhyme or reason, but if you're missing a photo on your LinkedIn, I would definitely recommend getting one. Depending on the place you're working right now, if you're maybe working for a 3-letter agency and you don't want a photo on your profile, that's understandable. But as you start to move into the private sector, having the ability to put a name to a face, I think, is very big in the HR world, and just having an idea of who I'm going to be talking to come this interview. The second piece I would say is, and this isn't a play or a push to LinkedIn, but if you don't have LinkedIn Premium, I would say if you can, I think they give like a 7-day or 30-day free trial. Go try it for 30 days or so the free trial length of it and just check it out, see what you think. I myself am a fan of it. I pay for it yearly. And it's the thing I like about it most is being able to send the inbox messaging to new connections. Because I know if you're not paying for LinkedIn Premium, I think you only get 5 a month. But with LinkedIn Premium, I get about 20 to 25 of those a month. And 3 is, yeah, start growing your connections, build out your network. I've talked to many great people across my platform with the initial cold message of, hey, my name's Andy, I'm trying to get into this role, or hey, I'm trying to do XYZ. I would love to pick your brain for 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you have some free time. And as I mentioned, 99% of the time, most folks are, yeah, I'd love to talk, let's chat. And I've been able to talk and kind of grow my community that way and kind of build out my network to where if I want to try to go to a cool company, I at least know one person there through a first or second connection that I can kind of chat with and get their opinion on. So with that, everybody, that is all I have. So I would love to open it up to any questions as I pivot back to the chat, if there's any. Yeah, and I've linked my LinkedIn as well in there, so please feel free if you're trying to connect and grow some this week. Feel free to let me be your first. Shoot me a connection, shoot me a quick comment or message saying, "Hey, I met you on the cyber call today, and yeah, I'd be happy to be your first connection."
Yeah, that was a great presentation. Um, I'm just gonna give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone has any questions.
Oh, Tracy from LinkedIn who added me says the chat isn't unlocked on the viewer side.
Let's see.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, I think I just turned it on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's on now.
Woohoo! Thanks, Tracy. Hey. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, and you and I talked, Kev, before and previously too, it's like I'm sure some of the information I've mentioned today it's not, this isn't breaking news, everybody. I think it's just some things I think folks, when it comes into social media, they might overlook. And the concept is I think, at least coming from a recruiter concept and talking to some recruiters on my channel as well, is having a strong LinkedIn profile can be huge. And I don't think it's a make or break, but it's great for recruiters to kind of just like quickly make a quick touch point and look out to you, look at what you're doing, how active you're in community. They can go down your resume, they can see the other stuff you've been. Maybe there's certain roles or jobs you don't list on your resume because of, we all know, having like a 1 to 2 page resume. If you list everything, it just turns into a 5-7 pager. So that's one thing I like to tell people too, where it's like if they're wanting to see additional deeper roles I've done, um, like any of my law enforcement stuff because I was there for 7 years and I was a police officer, I was a field training officer.
I was just about to
I,
say that. I was like,
yeah,
you didn't even mention your background, like some of the stuff you did. I'm like, he wasn't a police officer similar to me.
yeah. So I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. Yeah. So before breaking into cyber, about 8 years ago, I was a police officer. And now in my career, when I was trying to break in, that was part of my resume. And that was like the position I had trying to break into cyber. And it's just like, well, you have a criminal justice degree, you have your security plus, like, and I was just trying to get in like to a senior security analyst role or an analyst role. And it was hard because it's like the title and the job and the career and the education didn't match what I was trying to do within cybersecurity. And the way how I leveraged breaking into cyber is with my network through LinkedIn and through the military. I had a really good friend of mine that was in my unit who worked in the Phoenix area and knew the SOC manager and the director at the time. Referred me into the position. I had to interview like 3 times to still get myself into the door and show I was the best candidate. And by leveraging my LinkedIn, my network, though, that's how I it worked. Once he sent me their LinkedIn's, I shot them quickly professional messages. I connected with them, saying, "Hi, Ryan. Hey, Adam." Separately, I'm like, "My name's Andrew Crotty. I'm in law enforcement, but I'm trying to break into cyber." Our mutual connection, Jared, at the time, recommended I reach out to you guys to connect. Would love to talk and anything I can provide before this meeting or before the interview or after, but very excited to connect and just talk more. And that's kind of how I got in. And then from there, as I just kept kind of growing up and leveling up my skills, uh, eventually I honestly, I think my law enforcement is still on my resume, but not like every single position I held. I just had like my detective position on there. Because as you know, and I know, Kev, is as you move up the ranks or move through different companies or positions, resumes can get pretty lengthy, and depending on how long you want that to be, or like a really deep in depth technical resume, or like a 1 or 2 pager, there's a few things I've had to drop off. But on my LinkedIn page, I have everything I've done listed. And so having that strong LinkedIn page to show off who you are as well, not only on paper, I think is really pinnacle. It's a good point to have and things you can do to, in a sense, kind of level yourself up and kind of sell yourself on a personal level and have that kind of social following of like, hey, Andy's really active in the community. He posts every other day. He's learning a new topic. He just got this new certification. He's going to these local meetups and he's sharing his experience and stories on social media. And like I said, I know not everyone wants to be on social media. Not everyone's trying to be the next Mr. Beast or the next network Chuck or John Hammond. But I think having that small piece of who you are and describing that in the tech world is kind of cool. It's important.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very important. A lot of people don't know what the importance of networking because I got my I got my I got my first job in cybersecurity through networking.
Yep.
It's not from anything else. So it's like people ask me all the time, like, oh, do you have do you have security plus? And I'm like, I don't have security plus. How the hell did you get a job in cybersecurity? I'm like, oh, I just knew somebody. It's literally what it was. So like
Yep.
it was me going to a conference, networking, and then I ended up getting a job. That's literally what it was. And I've been in cybersecurity for like almost 3, 4 years now. But yeah, it's part of it. And I see Tracy put a comment there.
Yeah, it's ideally having that connection. Like I probably have over I have a handful of connections just sitting in my inbox. It's just like people that just try to connect with me. And I try to like do like obviously you have to do the OSINT, right? Like, okay, who is this person? Like where they find me, how they find me. And I think Tracy's right, where it's like the small message note context, even if it's like a quick sentence. Like Tracy sent me a small message that we just connected today. Like, hey Tracy, I'm on the video for the conference today. Happy to connect. In that small little humanistic sentence is like, oh, it puts a little bit more, I think, like I don't say call it passion, but like a little bit more of like realism of like, hey, like this person like genuinely wants to connect, genuinely wants to like have a connection on LinkedIn to possibly grow a network or ask questions later down the road, or maybe has like, just a similar career field of what they're trying to do. And it just I think goes a long way. And same thing, like the percentage of success with sending those small messages to connect are huge.
And it's definitely important because I remember I had I was affected with was it layoffs, and
Yeah.
you know, one of the jobs I got hit with layoffs, and it's like, and I did a quick call to Gerald, Gerald from Simply Cyber, and Gerald was like, "Hey, Kev, looking for a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got you, Kev. I know someone that's hiring right now," and then I ended up going into a job interview, and I ended up getting that job. So to show you, like, it's always like who you know, not what you know. So that's literally what happened to me. So yeah.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to connect with folks, as I mentioned before. And like I said, I think having I'll I'll tell you there's just as many failures as there are successes, right? And so it's like I reached out to people before even trying to connect and like invite folks onto my YouTube channel or just to connect in general. And it's like ghosted, no responses. I've had some folks block me, and it's just like, okay, obviously it didn't work. And it's nothing against you. It's just maybe that person doesn't want any new connections that day. And I think if you just kind of keep that in mind, that like not every connection you're going to send or try to reach out to or talk to will blossom into a conversation or blossom into a networking opportunity. Some folks don't want to. Some folks don't want to. Their network is full. They're happy with what they have in their cup. But I myself am a very happy-go-lucky. I rather grow and talk to new folks and meet new folks in this networking community to share experience with, share my successes, share my failures. So for anyone young in this career journey that they're trying to get into, can learn from my mistakes, some might say. Good to see you on, Matt. Cool, cool, cool. But yeah, Kev, I think with that, I need to wrap up, unfortunately. But unless there's any pressing last minute questions, thank you so much for having me again, and it was great getting to talk and kind of share my insights with you guys today.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I always appreciate having you here. It's always great to have you talk and everything. So I definitely appreciate that. Um, if anyone wants to add Andrew, Andrew, did you put your LinkedIn there in chat or?
Yeah, I can redrop it. I think it's at the very top. Let me see. Drop it one more time. Right there. So yeah, please feel free. As I mentioned before, try to add 5 to 20 new connections a day, and until LinkedIn tells you you're maxed out of connection requests.
And I'm gonna have you talk again with most likely with my other communities. I have another community that I have a bunch of people in that I would like to talk to you. So and
Awesome.
that's it.
Well, I'm excited for the time. Well, all right. I'll catch you all later.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you. Thank you everyone for coming in. Take care, guys. Bye bye.